Welcome to Mountain Wellness, a show about mental illness and mental health. I'm your host, Christine Napier, and thank you for watching. In this episode, we speak with young adults who suffer from mental illness, as well as those who have loved ones that also struggle with their mental health. We explore resources that they have available to them in their schools, and we also travel to speak with the National Alliance for Mental Illness about the help, resources, and support that they give those who struggle. Up first, we speak with Sela, a high schooler who struggled with an eating disorder. Let's find out more about her story.
Yeah, my eating disorder started October of my junior year, and I started actively recovering in October of my senior year. And I'm about 6 months into recovery, and I feel mentally everything is going back, and I feel like I'm in a great spot, but I do feel like I'm still recovering, but I'm in such a better place. I kind of decided around November that I was gonna try to lose just a little bit of weight, and I never had struggled with something like that before. Quickly it translated into something that it wasn't, and I started cutting down how much I was eating significantly, and it just got worse and worse over time to the point where I was eating only broccoli at night for about an entire year. And first it was definitely within the first couple months, yay, you're being healthy, working out and stuff. And I know a lot of people that were wow, kind of come at it from a applauding standpoint. Oh, I can't believe you can do that, such good discipline and stuff. And I think that's definitely a big misconception with it, a diet versus when that turns into an eating disorder and applauding people. I think it was in February when I really realized how big of an issue it was, and that something seriously was wrong, because that's when I really noticed my mental state start to significantly change. This after I lost about 20 pounds or something. I noticed my thoughts becoming a lot more obsessive, not being able to concentrate, and just kind of taking on a personality that I didn't originally connect with myself. My mom caught on to it around April, when I literally had kind of a whole childish kind of mental breakdown when she made me a certain food to eat for breakfast that I didn't want, and I just started crying, and because I had this plan, because you just get so fixated and kind of obsessive about what you're gonna eat and what your plan is. If anything gets in the way of that, it's not okay. And I know I had been thinking what I was gonna eat that morning for that whole week, I think. And when she got in the way of that, I mentally just couldn't handle it. And I think that's when she knew there was a problem. I went on this trip, a humanitarian trip in the summer, and I think that was also a point where I realized something was really wrong. I was cold the entire trip, shaking. I couldn't read anything when we were there. I had a really hard time just focusing on my own thoughts and stuff, and I think that kind of was another, and that was when I was kind of at the weight where people were starting to really notice things. I had dropped into around 80 pounds, something like that, and I think, I don't know, that was the point where I felt it physically, and I could feel my body starting to really shut down. I would have to squint all the time because my vision would start to go blurry at random times. You get exhausted really, really easily. It's one of those things where I don't think you could ever balance it with life, at all. It takes over every single second of your day, from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to sleep, to even your dreams at night. Constantly, I don't think I would have 5 seconds where I wasn't thinking about food or what I was gonna eat or obsessing about something. It's all the time, and so that made it extremely hard in school. If you kind of think of it from a survival standpoint, from an animal, if you starve an animal, or if you starve anyone, if you throw someone in the desert and don't let them eat for a really long time, they're not gonna be thinking about friends or schoolwork, learning, anything like that. They're literally just gonna be thinking about where their food is. And that's definitely the mindset that I had, and I think it definitely made school so difficult. I would sit in class, have no energy, and my body would not let me have energy to even read or talk, or someone would talk to me. It really hurt me socially, I think, because you just don't have the energy to talk with people, and I'm generally a pretty outgoing and social person. But that just completely shuts it off. You don't even want to say hi to somebody because you just physically can't, and it's so hard to explain. I was 80 pounds, and no matter what weight I got down to, when I got into 70s, upper 60s, I still told myself, no, I'm not bad enough yet to get help. Something was going on mentally in my head that was really different, and that's kind of the point where I realized that it wasn't necessarily like taking a diet to the extreme, but something seriously mentally was wrong.
We leave Stila in the middle of her struggle with an eating disorder. Up next, we learn about how she heals after she hits her lowest point. We'll be right back.
What is it about this place? What is it that has led to such a vibrant community of thinkers and doers? What is it that inspires a few young doctors to imagine the world's first artificial heart, or a few computer pioneers to create one of the 4 original nodes of the internet, or lifts an unlikely researcher to imagine a Nobel-worthy genetic code, and a young entrepreneur to imagine Adobe, and another Pixar Studios? This remarkable place has always fueled the life-saving and the life-affirming. This is the story of University of Utah Health Plans. Imagine the very best care science has to offer, and world-class researchers collaborating to make it that much better, proving that healthcare and health insurance can be more accessible, more affordable, and more responsive. Now imagine what an entire health system and globally recognized university can do for you.
Welcome back to Mountain Wellness. Eating disorders are complex medical and psychiatric illnesses. Before the break, we learned about Stila's journey with her eating disorder and left her in the middle of her struggle. Let's find out her lowest point and how she returned to good health.
Rock bottom for me was probably around April, I think. I was super depressed, so much anxiety. I had like no energy to do anything, and because I didn't know so much about eating disorders, because I don't feel like they're talked about enough, I thought something was seriously wrong with me, like personally, and I thought I was going to be like this forever. And because I wasn't necessarily at the weight where people were extremely concerned, I think that was pretty much rock bottom, because no one knew what was going on, and I felt like I was just battling this kind of internal battle. It was kind of constantly me telling people that I was going to be fine, and I was going to like, no, I'm making a change, I'm going to get better now, I'm going to like start doing it, but not really doing anything, and letting myself get worse and worse, because I would want to get better, because I think everyone wants to get better, but you don't want to do the hard thing, which is to gain the weight and actively start attacking it. And I had said so many times, no, this is it. And I think that's something that goes along with any sort of like addict or any kind of illness, is you say you're going to make a change. Me, after telling my friends that so many times, they flat out told me, they're like, no, you've said this, and like, you're not going to do it. After one night, I think, when I was doing like my volunteering job, and I went to the bathroom and I just like passed out on the floor there, no one was there, and I woke up and I could literally feel my heart, I think, just like trying to beat, because everything had shut down so much. And that was kind of the point where I realized if I didn't make a change like that week, nothing was, like, I was probably gonna die. And I had been told that so many times by like doctors and stuff, that like I would only have a couple weeks to live if I kept on, but it didn't hit me until I said it to myself, and I was able to like really recognize that I was totally in control of what happened from that point, and it was my actions that would change that. Getting a support team, like from all different angles, so like a doctor, having a therapist, having someone like a dietitian is all so important, because I think a lot of times eating disorders aren't fully healed because they're only tackled from one sort of point of view, either like physical or just mental, when you really need to have that holistic approach to recovering. But I also think like while I had that there, it was up to me like personally what decision I wanted to make. And for me, I just had to focus on what I would gain. Like I would not only gain weight, but I would gain like my happiness back, my ability to like learn and talk to people and connect with others. So I really focused on those things, and I would write those down like in my phone, journals and stuff, and look at it all the time. And I think once I started focusing on that, my perspective changed a lot, and I was really able to fully tackle recovery. Even though I considered myself recovered, I still have to have a recovering mindset. So every day when I go to eat something, you still get all of the same thoughts that you did, before. It's just actively ignoring them. And I think it's because you get, symptoms of OCD, anxiety, depression. It all comes in because your brain just gets like so dysfunctional. And for me, getting that message out there, I think is so important. And then also, since I needed someone so badly who had gone through what I was going through when I was sick, you really feel like you're the only one. And so getting that message out there to people that like, first this is what happens, but then also like it happens to other people, I think is really important, because I definitely want to be someone who people feel like they can go to talk about it or to get help, and kind of any questions about that, since that's definitely what played a critical role in me recovering. Any day is the day to recover, and you absolutely won't regret it, because even if you have doubts about things going back mentally, I can assure you that everyone who's gone through it and fully recovered has turned back, and that you realize how much better life is, and you stop caring so much about your weight as you gain it, which is really interesting, and things just start coming back, and you definitely won't regret it. It's kind of a hard illness for people to reach out about because they don't want to make any false assumptions. So I didn't feel like there was that much at the beginning of, when everything was catching on. I felt like it was just me. But at the beginning of my senior year, when I feel like it was really, really obvious, I know the intervention counselor, she was calling my mom all the time saying there's so many people concerned about her. There's teachers that think she's going to die in class, and that she has never had that many students come to her about someone in school and like someone they need to reach out for. So I definitely think recognizing that so many people were concerned who like you wouldn't even guess, so many teachers had come to her, so many students had come to her. I was definitely shocked because that so many people were concerned, because mentally it doesn't make you the nicest person. I was extremely aggressive, just like rude. It really turns you kind of into like animal, because you've just been hungry for like a year. And so I didn't really feel like that many people cared, but definitely kind of strengthened me and told me that like this isn't just like a fight for myself, it's a fight for all these people who care about me. Even more people, when I had like recovered and I talked about it kind of on social media and really just let it all out there, I had so many people reach out to me saying that how concerned they were before and how proud they were. Like so many people talked to me personally, comments and stuff. That was just amazing to me. You realize like what an impact just one person has and how visible you are to everybody.
Thank you, Sela, for being open and honest about your journey with your eating disorder. If you are struggling with an eating disorder or have a loved one who may also be struggling, please reach out to the National Eating Disorder Association. They have a helpline you can call and get resources and the support that you need. Up next, we speak with 2 high school students about how they feel it's very necessary to speak openly about mental health and find out more about the support they receive in their schools. We'll be right back.
What is it about this place? What is it that has led to such a vibrant community of thinkers and doers? What is it that inspires a few young doctors to imagine the world's first artificial heart, or a few computer pioneers to create one of the 4 original nodes of the internet, or lifts an unlikely researcher to imagine a Nobel-worthy genetic code, and a young entrepreneur to imagine Adobe, and another Pixar Studios? This remarkable place has always fueled the life-saving and the life-affirming. This is the story of University of Utah Health Plans. Imagine the very best care science has to offer, and world-class researchers collaborating to make it that much better, proving that healthcare and health insurance can be more accessible, more affordable, and more responsive. Now imagine what an entire health system and globally recognized university can do for you.
Welcome back to Mountain Wellness. We recently spoke with 2 high school students, Gracie and Kennedy, about why they think it is so important to speak openly about mental illness and also about the resources they have available in their schools that they participate in. Let's take a look.
Because I've had my own experiences with mental health. My dad and I kind of struggle with anxiety, me more than him. And the struggle with anxiety and just seeing how a lot of people like to make fun of me for it. A lot of people, I've been bullied a lot because I have anxiety. And just seeing how nobody recognizes that anxiety and depression and all of the other issues that go along with those aren't actually real things, it makes me kind of sad. So in order to find help for myself, I kind of wanted to open up help for everybody else to make it okay so that everybody can get the help that they deserve.
My aunt actually has bipolar disorder, and being a part of her life, because her family is really close with mine, but she actually has a daughter who is my cousin, and just seeing the secondary hand from that disorder and everything around the lines of that. But seeing my cousin handle what my aunt was going through I admired her for her strength. And I think that's why I became so passionate about it, because I understood that kids lived in the situation that my cousin had, but didn't have the outlet like my family was supportive for her. That's why I feel that it's so important that the conversation needs to be open, because it honestly breaks my heart that kids and even adults feel like they can't talk about their mental health issues.
Where I come from a community where we don't really have very much mental health awareness. Not many people talk about it. Some people don't even acknowledge that it exists. So for me, it's all about just making it aware so that those kids in my community know that mental health is a real thing and that it's okay to feel the things that they're feeling and that they deserve the help and they should find some help so that they can handle all of the issues that come along with mental illness.
So just a little bit what Teen Talk is about. It's where a bunch of kids from, specifically teens, from different high schools come and talk about and represent their school and about mental health and substance abuse. And parents come and we inform parents on what can be done, what can help, and everything along those lines. And I loved being a part of the Teen Talk panel because it was open and everyone was comfortable with what they were going through, and not just one person was going through a specific thing. People were all sharing it in different instances.
So the Safe UT app is an anonymous resource for high school students. I'm not sure if you've heard about it. But for me, using that just to notice that there was help there, even if I couldn't reach my parents. I haven't used it very much. I think I've used it once. And it's pretty interesting to see how that can help you. Just knowing that there's a safe, secure resource there 24/7 is pretty nice. So STAR Club it stands for Students Taking Active Roles. And it basically just means that students are taking an active role in their own mental health. We're trying to bring community resources and make sure that kids are aware of all those resources that they have available to them. And then I'm a part of the Communities That Care Youth Council. So I get the opportunity to sit on a lot of panels and talk about mental health and make sure that kids are aware of or just make sure actually that parents are aware of what their kids want. Because there was a conference I was at one point that they asked, what can I do to help? And I said, just listen to the kids and listen to what they want and try to make it happen. So that's where the CTC panels kind of came from, I think, is when we told parents that we want them to listen to us and hear what's going to happen. Then that's where we kind of introduced that we're going to start doing parent education from the kids, which is a little difficult.
I think that there could be growth. I think there's always needs to be process and growth and everything. I hope to keep pursuing the Teen Talk panels. I actually really enjoy being there and listening to stories and meeting new people. I love connecting with people. That's one of the things that I feel is a good trait for me, and even connecting with people with mental health issues. I feel connecting with people is so important. And so I'm hoping to keep pursuing what I'm doing and even just being a voice for others, as well as giving a voice to others.
I think I'd like to just see acceptance so that kids don't feel so alone and they don't feel so guarded. And I wish that people would understand that it's not something that you can mess with or prey on, because part of the reason why middle school and high school were so terrible for me is because kids would see that I have anxiety and they would choose to mess with it for their gain. So I think that in terms of mental health in the future, I just hope people learn how sensitive it is and how it takes time, and you need to learn how to accept it and then also at the same time respect it.
Thank you, Gracie and Kennedy, for openly speaking about mental illness and also for being an active part of your school's support clubs. Up next, we speak with the National Alliance of Mental Illness. We'll be right back.
What is it about this place? What is it that has led to such a vibrant community of thinkers and doers? What is it that inspires a few young doctors to imagine the world's first artificial heart, or a few computer pioneers to create one of the 4 original nodes of the internet, or lifts an unlikely researcher to imagine a Nobel-worthy genetic code, and a young entrepreneur to imagine Adobe, and another Pixar Studios? This remarkable place has always fueled the life-saving and the life-affirming. This is the story of University of Utah Health Plans. Imagine the very best care science has to offer, and world-class researchers collaborating to make it that much better, proving that healthcare and health insurance can be more accessible, more affordable, and more responsive. Now imagine what an entire health system and globally recognized university can do for you.
Welcome back to Mountain Wellness. We recently spoke with our local chapter of the National Alliance of Mental Illness about the support, resources, and help that they provide anyone who is struggling with their mental health. Let's take a look.
So NAMI is a national advocacy, education, and support organization. Our home office is in Arlington, Virginia. And basically what we do is we advocate for appropriate mental health policies. We work to end stigma, really, kind of work to get the conversation going. And then in terms of support, we offer peer-led support groups. So for families, for people experiencing mental illness. So the groups are free of charge to people who access those services, and they're run by peers who have experienced the same things that they have. Because very often when mental illness strikes a family, we don't really know what to do. And so NAMI can be there to educate and help you understand that, gosh, first of all, you're not alone. Lots of people experience mental illness. 1 in 5 across the country in a course of a year experience a mental illness. And so we want people to understand they're not alone. We'd like them to understand what is happening with the mental illness and the treatments that are available, because there are treatments that are effective and can help people live, happy, productive lives just like they want to. NAMI also offers, it's a sub-crisis mentor line. And basically what that is 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. You can call up and speak with someone, a peer, who is very familiar with resources in the community, who has experienced mental illness or has children who have experienced mental illness. So you can talk to someone who has some personal experience, who also is very familiar with resources, and just talk through. So it's not a crisis line. But you can call up and ask questions, talk about the treatments that are working or not. And again, we don't advocate for specific treatments or treatment modalities. We want to talk through, hey, what's working, what isn't, what's the best decision for you. But it's just a nice place to talk. We get 700 or 800 people calling every month. And just talking through, hey, here's what's going on, here's my experience, we can help guide in some ways, those kinds of things. So one of the things we try and do is get the word out about mental illness. And so we have done just general information groups where we will do a presentation at a school, in front of an employer, at a community event, those kinds of things, just to begin that conversation. And then we're working to get our progression group for young adults, young people, 16 to 24. We're working to get that group, as well as our basics group for families, more spread out so that we can offer them in the schools. We're working on that right now. They're not offered in schools yet, but as we said, as we do these community events, people will get the information they need and access us through that. But we're looking at ways to get the word out in terms of, how do we access schools? Because obviously mental illness affects what happens in schools, and so we'd like to be part of that conversation. In this day and age, we still face the idea that mental illness could be a choice, or it's something you should just get over, or those kinds of things. So it's something that we continually work with in the community to, dispel the myths around mental illness. It's not something you just get over, but there are effective treatments. And so we work to, as we talked about, getting the word out, educating, gosh, it's this, it's not this. And the more we can do that, I think the more we can break down that stigma and hopefully get people who maybe were a little hesitant to seek treatment to come and at least talk about what's going on. When I first started years and years ago, I worked with people experiencing serious mental illness, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. And I just, I don't know, it's just rewarding seeing how hard people work and how hard they are trying to stabilize, get integrated into the community, find support, those kinds of things. And we always just, I don't know, it's always been really a challenge. And I've learned so much from people who share their experiences with us. So I think that, you know, just getting to kind of experience things with them, it's pretty powerful.
Thank you to the National Alliance of Mental Illness for the free support, help, and resources that you provide anyone who is struggling with their mental health. If you or someone you know has suicidal thoughts, do not hesitate to reach out to the National Suicide Lifeline. We want to thank everyone who participated in today's episode. We appreciate you for watching Mountain Wellness here on Park City Television. We'll see you next time.